And we are recording. And I'm going to start the slideshow. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I need to start screen sharing first. Otherwise, I will be the only one that sees the, there we go. All right. So welcome to the Operational Support Cultural Tourism Grant Workshop. Many of you have already been through this one or two times before, but there are some significant changes. And I also wanted to get a chance to talk to you about how we're going to handle things like the state reopening and COVID and things like that. So I think it's important that we all know what the actual hotel occupancy tax code says as the definition for art. And it's very broad. The encouragement, promotion, improvement, and application of the arts, including instrumental and vocal, dance, drama, art, visual art, creative writing, architecture, design, painting, sculpture, photography, graphic and craft arts. Anyway, it's a lot. So, but refer to that as we go through the process, because we will ask you what your discipline is in the application. I also wanted to remind everyone that Texans for the Arts is the official arts advocacy organization for Texas. I am very proud to represent Odessa on the Texans for the Arts Board of Directors and encourage every one of you to take out a membership in Texans for the Arts. They are a membership-driven organization, and it is their only source of funding, so every little bit helps. All right, so here we go. These are the new things for 2021. The application will be accessed through the submittable site, which is going to give it some uniformity with other grant websites as well, and hopefully make it a lot easier on everyone who is applying for a cultural tourism grant, whether it's the first time or you've been doing this forever. The other great thing that I wanted to say is that we are waiving the membership requirement for the 2021 cultural tourism grants. That means you do not have to be a member of Odessa Arts in order to apply. Of course, I encourage everyone to always take out a membership with Odessa Arts. Your membership dollars help us a great deal. We also increased the grant funds cap based on your budget, and we'll look at that in the next slide. There will be no in-person presentations this year. However, we will, at the very bottom of the application is the ability to upload a 3-minute visual presentation to your application. And that is optional. You don't have to do that. I highly encourage it. Anyone that's done a TCA grant knows that most of the time you're able to send them a video as well. So that's what we're going to do. It also means that you need to dot every I and cross every T on your application, because we won't be asking you questions about things that are confusing. So that if you put something in your grant application that might cause some confusion, most of the scoring committee is going to err on the side of caution and score lower, which means less grant money. So make sure that as you're going through this, you have somebody else look at it and clarify any questions that might come up. The other thing we're doing is, instead of a final evaluation where we ask you to report on your entire year in one report, we're going to quarterly reports. We'll go through that in a minute as well, but that means that at the end of the first quarter, you'll submit a quarterly report, and then we will issue your second quarter check, okay? The 2021 grants are still a one-to-one match, dollar for dollar. Every dollar we give you, you have to match with dollars from another source. It doesn't have to be your organization. If you get another grant from TCA or the NEA or any other foundations, you can use that as your match as well. All right, so let's look at the request limits this year. As you can see, we increased them about $10,000 per budget category. So if your organization's budget is under $40,000, you can request up to $20,000, all the way up to $40,000 for organizations that have a budget of $250,000 and up. This is based on your current fiscal year budget. So whatever you're operating on right now is where your request limit is going to fall. We were very fortunate this year that the City of Odessa held our hotel occupancy tax funding stagnant. We did not see a decrease. We were very, very lucky. And so we want to do what we can to pass that good fortune on to our organizations. So we're going to try and give out even more money this year. The converse of that is that you have to, again, have a really good grant application in order to hit that threshold, because everything that's confusing, everything that you don't, fill out precisely can lower your score, okay? There are two types of support that we give. One is for operating, which is what we're talking about right now. And that's for organizations with multiple events, overhead, facility costs. And then of course, at noon, we'll be talking about project support. I'll tell you that the applications for both are pretty close. We ask some different questions at the very end, but for the most part, the applications are the same. So if you get to the point where you're applying and you've gone through the operational support workshop, but you decide to go ahead and apply for project-based support instead, that's fine. You're not going to see a lot of difference in the applications. The grant portal will be open from July 15th through August 15th. It will close at midnight. There are no extensions. The period of support is from January 1st through December 31st, 2021. And your event must take place in Ector County, but your organization does not have to be based in Ector County. Obviously, like I say every year, the Wagner Noel is the no man's land between Midland and Odessa, and we both share ownership of that, so we both help fund it as well. So if you have an event that's out at the Wagner Noel, we will support that even though it's in Midland County, okay? You cannot have applied to the City of Odessa for a hotel occupancy tax if you apply to Odessa Arts, and vice versa. And if you apply to the city for arts-based funding, they're going to send you back to us anyway. And of course, because this is hotel occupancy tax that we are granting out, each application has to have a direct impact on the hotel industry in Odessa. Basically, we're going to ask you two questions at the very beginning of this application. Does your organization or your project have a cultural component? Is it any of the arts disciplines that were listed in that state statute? And does your program or your organization have a direct impact on the hotel industry in Odessa? We're going to talk about what that means. Most people think of hotel impact as heads and beds, or as we like to call it, overnight stays. We're trying to get people to stop using heads and beds and use overnight stays instead. Many of you have met Scott Josloff from the Texas Hotel Lodging Association. He actually wrote the state statute that grants money to the arts. And even he says that a direct impact can be more than just overnight stays. If you host an event in a hotel, if you have a hotel cater your event, if you give out swag to the hotel guests, if you discount tickets for hotel guests, if you comp tickets for hotel guests, if you put out flyers, I mean, there's a ton of ways that you can partner with a hotel that is a direct impact that goes beyond overnight stays. But I will tell you this as well, because of the economy right now, hotels are going to be very cooperative with you. because they need the business as much as we need to impact them as well. And it's just good stewardship for us to take this money and then help the hotels with it as well, because the more hotels have money, the more hotel tax we get, the more hotel tax money goes back out to you in the form of these grants. So start building these relationships with these hotels, and make sure that you, if you're a nonprofit, you get a hotelier on your board. Do the things that will make hotels very happy, because when it comes time for outside agency funding again, having the support of the hotels is so, so important. At the bottom of this, you can see a web address, texansforthearts.com, hotel occupancy tax. I would encourage everyone to visit that as well. And just so that you know, Judith will be emailing this PowerPoint out at the end of the day today. Surprise, Judith. All right, so you will have this as well. Make sure that you use your funds the way you said you were going to use them in your application. Obviously, this year is a very good example of that. Things happen, and you have to adjust your programming. You have to adjust your visiting artists. That's fine. We will work with that as well as we can, but we need you to send us a letter and a revised budget if there are any budgetary changes. If you're just moving dates, but everything else is the same, we're not going to need a revised budget. But if you were planning on doing a concert and you've booked a different band and a different venue, then we need to start looking at what your revised budget looks like for that. Without that, we may ask you to return your funds. Your grant contract and your revised budget must be submitted by December 31st, or your grant will be forfeit. In-kind contributions are not allowed on the application side, but verifiable in-kind contributions may be used as part of your quarterly report. They can't be more than 25% of your match for the entire year, not per quarter. We will be sending out the quarterly report forms on the 1st of April, July, September, and January. You will have until the 15th of that month to return the completed forms, and then we will issue your quarterly payment for that quarter. So we will not issue a check until we get the quarterly report for that quarter. Failure to submit all 4 quarterly reports may result in disqualification for future grant opportunities. We're doing something with these quarterly reports that's going to make, hopefully it's going to make it easier on you anyway, but we're not withholding that last payment until the last report. So we're giving it to you on the honor system. And if you don't fill out that 4th quarter report, you will be disqualified for next year's grants. New this year as well, Odessa Arts and Texans for the Arts logos must be featured in all publicity. If you don't have those, we will we'll just email them out with all of your grant paperwork once funds are awarded, so that you have a clean copy of an Odessa Arts logo and a clean copy of the Texans for the Arts logo. Make sure that your events are entered into the Odessa Arts calendar of events. Make sure you invite our board members. They love to see where our money is going and how well you're spending it. And send thank you notes to the Odessa City Council or emails with copies sent to Odessa Arts so that we can verify that you sent those, okay? Finally, some tips and tricks. Make sure your mission statement is short, simple, and easy to follow. This is who we are, this is what we do. With your organizational narrative, again, pretend that nobody's ever heard of your organization, and it's basically your elevator pitch. When you meet somebody and tell them what you do, that should be your narrative. Your marketing plan needs to be simple to understand, but comprehensive. This is a cultural tourism grant. How are you marketing your organization or your programming? We need to know that, because if you do the best programming in the world and if nobody shows up, then it's all for nothing. And your budget should show a healthy investment in marketing and travel if applicable. All right. Any questions about anything that I've gone through so far?
Randy, can you see me? Hello.
Yes, Amy.
Yes, the quarterly budget, when does that start? In January? So when would be the next quarterly budget report?
So all of this starts with January 1st. So the grant that you're writing in 2020 is for 2021. On April 1st, we will send you a quarterly report for the first quarter of 2021, which is January, February, March. So that's when it will start.
But then the budget reconciliation for 2020 is still the same, probably doing January then, like it was?
Yes. For the current grant, if you have a current 2020 cultural tourism grant, that evaluation is going to stay the same. We're only changing it from 2021 forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? All right. So let's talk about how to get to the application portal. What you're seeing here is our new website, which is not live yet. It will go live on July 15th, as well as the application. But go to odessaarts.org, and if you scroll down, right there it says Cultural Tourism Grants. And there's a button for Submittable. And you'll click that, and it will take you straight to the Odessa Arts Submittable site. At the very bottom of these instructions is where you will see the video of the workshop, either this one or the project later. And this also gives you some tips and tricks for using Submittable. I encourage you to read all of those, especially if you have not used Submittable before. It's very important to know that if you have a technical question about the application, like this button doesn't work, I can't get my budget to upload, it won't take my email address, any technical questions like that need to go to support@submittable.com. Nobody in our office can fix any of that. That goes directly to Submittable. If you have a question like, can you read my narrative and tell me if it makes sense, or should I put, cupcake holders in my budget, then that would be a question for us, okay? And then down here, you're gonna see all of the different applications that we have going. Some of them you can see are not live, but the Cultural Tourism Grant will be live July 15th and it ends on August 15th. And you just click here to apply. And I've pre-filled some of this out for you so that you don't have to watch me type all of this. But anything with a red star obviously is required. The organization name, the physical address, the mailing address. I'm very sorry, Violet, but none of this stuff is going to auto-populate for you again next year. You will have to go back and refill out everything from scratch. But I think the form's a lot simpler now. Mailing address, telephone, executive director or president, email address. Does this project impact the hotel industry? Does this project involve the arts? If you don't click yes to both of those, it won't let you go any further, okay? Then your grant name. And this is very important for our record keeping. It needs to be your organization name or an abbreviation. You don't have to type out University of Texas of the Permian Basin Fine Arts Department every time. You can just put UT Permian Basin or UTPB, and then the name of your project or operating funds so that we can look at your operating funds or your project. Your primary contact, phone, email, website, all your social media handles should be right there. Then we ask, did you get a 2020 Cultural Tourism Grant and the denomination? And because of COVID-19, we want to know if there are any funds that you have received for this year that you don't expect to be spent. And why? Just a detailed explanation, like we were going to have an artist come in and visit in July, and we were unable to do so because of travel restrictions. That was $1,500 of the budget. So list out any of that stuff. Your total operating budget, and then it's got the new grant request limits, and then we put in the dollar amount of your grant request. So we're just going to put in 25,000 there. Then we have any of the following socioeconomic groups that are served by your organization. Check all that apply. It may be one, it may be five, it may be none. If it's none, click none of the above. It won't let you go any further without doing some of these. So I'm just going to click the first four. And then here, okay, and if that happens, if it says there was an error saving your form, please try again, or contact support, because I can't help you with that. And then here is where the application branches off. So we're applying for operational support, and then you'll start seeing some questions populate down here. You can select all that apply in terms of your artistic discipline. We're going to do visual arts, and then your mission statement. Arts exists. Your organizational narrative, you can see there are word limits, 250 words, 500 words. Okay, the narrative is telling about your organization. The mission statement should be what's in your bylaws, but your narrative needs to be, you know, Odessa Arts supports other organizations through cultural tourism grants, presents hot summer nights, does fun things. Okay, so here's where you put in for operational support. How is the Odessa Arts money going to help your operations? Is that pot of money going towards your marketing budget? Is it going to help support the salary for an additional person? What is it you're asking for? And that's what you would put here. And then describe the community impact of your organization. We reach X number of people, we go out into the community, we make art available for free, whatever it is that you do that impacts the community. And then your organization's direct impact on the hotel industry. What is it you're doing to impact? We get a third of our audience comes from out of town, and they stay at whatever hotel. Hotels are good. One thing that we have started doing with our new website that any of you that are looking at improving your website might do is we're going to have a pop-up ad for hotels right when you go on the site. So it's absolutely going to, the first thing you see is going to be an ad for a hotel. That's a direct impact on the hotels as well. And if you are partnering with any specific hotel, that's where you write that in there. If you partner with any other nonprofits, great. Put that in here. If you list someone, you need a letter of support from that agency, because otherwise you could say that you're partnering with everybody and it's not going to, it's not really going to be a true partnership. If I call up Downtown Odessa and say, Odessa Arts said that you're working together, and they go, we didn't know anything about that, which has happened, then of course that's going to count against you on your application. So make sure if you list any agencies that you have a letter of support from that. Here's where we're going to ask about COVID-19. Tell us a little bit. We've got 1,000 words. How did COVID-19 affect your operations? What changes did you make? Then we need to know if you got any kind of COVID-19 relief funding. Did you get a PPP, an EIDL? Did you get anything from the NEA? Then we're going to talk about marketing. And again, your marketing has to be very precise. We feel that this particular project, the audience will be best served by doing a heavy social media marketing. We are planning on spending money on Facebook ads and Instagram ads and things like that. If your demographic is older, you're going to want to look at newspaper ads or some sort of combination of all of them. But you need to have something that shows that you've put some thought into the marketing of your project, especially that is going to be seen outside of the Odessa city limits. We will. If you are a nonprofit board, does your organization have 100% board financial participation? That just means that each board member has made a financial contribution. That's different than an in-kind contribution. It's different than volunteer hours. We just want to know that if you're going out and applying for funds from other organizations, then your board needs to have a little bit of skin in the game as well. Then we want to know if you receive any funds from the NEA, the NEH, TCA, Humanities, Texas, all of those, all right? Again, this one has to be answered. I'm gonna go back up here. If you are not a nonprofit, even though that is a required answer, go ahead and click no. Just put something in either your organizational narrative or your project narrative that states that you're not a nonprofit, so you don't have to worry about board participation. Here's something else that I think is going to make everybody very happy. We're not going to make you reformat your budget to fit our template. So whatever budget you use for your last year's, your most recently completed fiscal year budget to actual, upload that. Okay. Again, make sure it's easy to understand, because for a lot of the people that are on the scoring committee, it's the first time they're going to see this. So if you have some sort of acronym or abbreviation that doesn't make sense to anyone except within your organization, you might want to spell that out or put it in the budget notes. Then you're going to need to upload a current budget. Both of these need to list where the Odessa Arts money is going. You need to show it as income for the budget request, for the request, and then an equal amount of expenditure. You might want to highlight them in a different color. You might want to do something that shows you're asking for $15,000, and that $15,000 is going towards marketing, so that it's very, very easy to understand. And here is where you will put any notes to your budget that are not self-explanatory. We saw a deficit this year because of COVID-19, and our donations dropped by 10%, things like that. Or this year we're planning on using the Odessa Arts money not for marketing, but we want to hire an intern, whatever. Then we need a list of board members, an executive director resume, and here's where you can upload a video narrative of up to 3 minutes. And you can make that as fancy as you want, or it can be as simple as you sitting in front of a computer screen just like this and giving us your elevator pitch about your organization and why you're seeking funding from Odessa Arts. Then you're going to click the digital signature and the terms of use, which I'm going to show you right now. Most of this has already been gone over in the PowerPoint, but here you go. Revised budget and grants, thank you letters, quarterly impact reports, complimentary tickets, keeping records for 5 years and make them available at any site visit that we do. And of course, the Odessa Arts and Texans for the Arts logo. So those are the things that are on the application and the terms of use. Once that's done, click apply and you'll get an immediate response saying your application was submitted. Once the application has been submitted and we send it off to the scoring committee, then once your application is scored, you'll get an email either saying congratulations, you've been recommended for funding of this amount, or we're very sorry, thank you for your application, but at this time, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the application. Once that's done and you get your award, you'll also get an email asking for your contract to be signed and a revised budget, and you'll get links to upload those. Any questions about the application before we go on to the quarterly reports?
Can we see the two budget boxes again? The budget to actual.
Yeah.
Budget to actual.
So it's your most recently completed fiscal year budget to actual, and then your current fiscal year budget. And you can see there are a lot of different file types that are supported. So as long as it's one of these, you're in good shape.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Randy,
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have to upload any attachments?
Well, the attachments, like right here, this choose file for budget to actual, that's your attachments.
Okay,
so you're
gonna
upload a budget, you're gonna upload your list of board members if you have them, your executive director resume, which can also, for your purposes, whoever is responsible for distributing the grant to the different departments or whatever, that's who you're going to upload there. And then a video narrative if you have one. That one is optional, but I highly recommend that you do it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the quarterly impact report. So this is what you're going to see in your inbox on April 1st. And it's very, very simple. Your project name, which should match your grant name. So it's going to be UTPB-Fine Arts 2021. And then there's actually a template because I'm on the admin side of Submittable right now. I can't pull up this template, but you're just going to have a spreadsheet and it will actually list, you can list out all the events that you've had in that quarter, the event name, the date, the location, how many residents, how many cultural tourists. So if you can get a guest book, get, if you do a show of hands, if you do a survey monkey, whatever you do to capture as much data as you possibly can. We realize some of this is going to be an estimate and that's fine, but do your best at getting a really good head count for that. And then did you partner with any hotels this quarter? If you answer yes, it's going to ask you to describe the partnership results. We partnered with the Elegante to hold our awards banquet. We had 150 people there. We spent approximately $1,500 at that hotel. And then we want a year-to-date grant expenditures and your match. So whatever of our grant money that you spent that quarter and whatever the match is in an Excel spreadsheet, in any of these file types. And we're not going to ask you to upload the receipts, but you need to keep those on file because we will be doing site visits and you need to be able to produce those at any site visit. And then you hit submit and that's it. Well, that is the entire presentation and the entire application form and quarterly report form. Does anyone have any questions?
Just to make it clear, the project name is specific to your organization and not specifically UTPB Grant 2020. So it would be, for example, Boys and Girls Club Grant 2020, UTPB Grant 2020, correct?
Yeah, it's 2021. You actually don't need to put the date on there because with submittable, we're going to be able to see the dates on everything now. But it needs to be like Boys and Girls Club / operational support. Or if it's Boys and Girls Club, Art in the Park is the name of the project. All right. So for attendee numbers, you can use, Chris asked this, if attendees are involved with an event that covers the whole Permian Basin, can we use numbers from Midland or only hotels in Ector County? If you're talking about hotel impact, for the purposes of Odessa hotel occupancy tax money, we need the numbers just from the hotels in Ector County. All right. You can't use Midland hotel numbers for an Odessa grant. You can use it for attendance numbers if you've got people from Midland coming over here, but you can't use those as hotel numbers. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for this. Again, we will have this uploaded, or the project-based one uploaded on this site. The grants will go live on July 15th, and the deadline is August 15th. If you need someone to read over any part of your grant application, and I highly encourage you to do this, any of the text, write it outside of the application, like in a Word doc, and you can email it to me, Cindy, Judith will be happy to read over it and make suggestions, make corrections, and point you in a direction that we think will get you a higher score. It's important to remember that no one on the staff here gets to vote on or score any of the grant applications. So all we're going to do is work as hard as we can to get your application to be the best it can possibly be for the scoring committee. So any advice, we're happy to help you with that, because this software makes it so simple to actually do the grant that we want you to concentrate on the things that you need to, like what your budget should look like, what your narrative should look like, how you can best work with a hotel. All right. Okay, well, with that,
Randy,
yes.
sorry. Can we get a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yes. We will be emailing a copy of the PowerPoint out at the end of the day. Judith will be emailing it out.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Wait.
Hey, Randy, this is Brian and Clint.
Yes.
Just to clarify, the budget that we're submitting for current is for 2020, correct?
Yes. The budget you're currently operating under as of today.
So our 2020 budget is what dictates our cap.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm sure most of you operate under a fiscal year budget. So even if your fiscal year started on July 1st and today's July 6th, then that's the budget you're operating under. But whatever budget is as of today. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I think I'll see some of you again at the next session at noon. But between now and then, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Get started working on your narrative now so that you can just copy and paste when it comes time. All right. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.